Hey everyone, and welcome to a special episode. We're gonna do this kind of podcast style. I got a special guest, David, aka Detrimantix. How's it going, buddy?
What's going on, guys?
So, David, you helped me a long time ago with the Nash history video, but now we're doing this again with Marvel Infinite. Are you excited for Marvel Infinite, David? It's okay, you can lie to everyone.
I can't wait, man. Can't freaking wait.
David's got a specialty for the older titles, and I thought it'd be pretty cool to just talk about the history of how the assist mechanic worked before, and just so people who missed out on these games have an idea and see how it's going to be in a game that just doesn't have the system, or something similar to the system. We don't really know exactly how it works yet. So David, which game started this whole assist in the crossover series?
It was first introduced way back in Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. I believe that was like 97.
Is that one of your favorite games in the crossover series?
I have a personal fondness for it just because it was probably one of the first ones I played, but I know a lot of people don't really consider it that great compared to the rest.
Oh, I saw you destroying a bunch of kids in the arcade with Wolverine constantly in that game.
Yeah, a little bit too busted in that game.
It's too much, man. Okay, so the assist system didn't come from X-Men vs. Street Fighter. It came in Marvel vs. Street Fighter. So what was the assist system like? Did you choose your assists, or how did it go?
Okay, so in Marvel vs. Street Fighter, it was still pretty primitive. You gotta remember that was they were testing out the waters because it was the first one they tried it in, and basically they tried it as a mechanic that was basically unlimited. So you could use it as long as your character was alive. You could use it as much as you wanted, but it had a couple catches. The move that the assist did was fixed. You couldn't change it. Some assists had good moves, some assists had not so great moves. Akuma did his Tatsu, which was pretty good. That's why it was the birth of the Wolverine Akuma duo. Yeah, it's still pretty good in that game. But there's a lot of characters who had useless assists, like Omega Red just jumped in and did his Standing Fierce, for example.
Oh, okay. So you didn't choose it. It was just whoever your team was, right? If you picked Wolverine and Spider-Man, it would always be Spider-Man coming out and doing an assist, and vice versa, right?
Yeah, so whoever your point character was, they called the secondary character there, and they always came in and performed a fixed move that was always the same, couldn't change it. So Ryu did a Hadouken, Ken did Shoryuken, for instance.
But was it a big deal? Did you choose certain characters just on their assist? Was it like that yet, or is it just the icing on the cake that your character just so happened to have a really good assist as well?
I think back then, I would say most people just played the characters they wanted, and then if the character happened to have a good assist, that was a bonus.
Yeah.
But I think as the years went by and people started to kind of dabble in other games, like when Marvel's Capcom 2 was released, then people started realizing how good assists really were.
Yeah.
They went back and they started realizing oh wow, we actually use Shumagorath for his Mystic Smash assists, because if the point character gets stuffed, he still comes out, right? So there's a little bit more depth that I think was unexplored when the game was released. But I think at the time it was more just pick your characters and whatever happens, basically.
How was the speed of the assist? Was that the one where they taunted when they did it?
Yeah. So that game was basically you were forced to stay on the ground. You couldn't be performed in the air. It has to be grounded, and it had to be completed assist animation. So your character goes into the standard taunt animation, and then your assist comes out.
Oh, okay.
And cannot be interrupted. You can't cancel it to super. You can't jump out of it. So once you commit to that assist call, you're basically a sitting duck.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay, so it's not really used to trap or really zone too much then, because you can't multitask with it. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think a lot of us back in the day, we used it as a deterrent, so defensive tool, Ken's uppercut. Someone jumps in on you or super jumps on you, you call that, and they don't really expect Ken to blow up an uppercut on a character who doesn't have an uppercut, right? But I mean, there was some mix-up potential, like Bison or Ryu. They had a fireball, so you could potentially do an air dash over and hit them from the other side. So there was some potential there, but it was still pretty primitive compared to the games later.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about Marvel vs. Street Fighter for the assists?
No, man. I think that about covers the basics of that game, right? We got a lot to cover, right? So.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the next game. Isn't that Marvel vs. Capcom 1?
Yeah, it's Marvel 1.
Okay, good. I was like, am I right about this? I didn't know. Okay, so the assist system in this, I think, is much more complicated, wasn't it? Or I guess it was simple, but I don't know. Okay, anyways, go ahead and explain, David. After you.
Yeah. So they tried a little bit of a different approach. They completely revamped the system. Rather than having your main and your point character and your secondary character interchange and do their own assists, they actually added a separate cast entirely. So there was, I believe, I want to say 16 characters that they added, and then there was a couple secret ones. I think was it Shadow, and then
oh yeah, I completely forgot about
Shadow
that.
was in it, and then US Agent, I think, was one of them.
Who?
I think US Agent from Marvel Street Fighter. And
man, I honestly completely forgot about that. You have to put in the secret code to get the. Were those even good as assists?
Which ones?
The secret
you mean
ones.
I think Sentinel was okay, but not compared to like the higher tier assists.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, sorry to derail. So yeah, go ahead. So it's a different cast entirely that uses your assist. Has nothing to do with your point characters. And go on.
Yeah. So the separate cast, basically, when you selected your main, your point character and your secondary character. After you select your character, you pick your control type, manual or easy mode, and your speed, depending on the machine you were playing. There would be a random select thing that automatically would just kind of go through this roulette and then pick it at random.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, a lot of people had no idea what that was at first. They're like, "What's this?" You know?
Yeah.
And people started to realize, okay, well, that's my assist. And then as we got a little bit deeper into the game, we all started realizing, oh, there's actually ways you can manually select that assist by holding start and certain button combinations. You could actually choose the assist you wanted.
I think like Capcom intended people to know about these codes. They just wanted a fast way for people to pick the assist without wasting your time going through menus and choosing which one individually. And they just put like a code for each assist. Like I think that's why they did that for the arcade version, anyways. Like I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of people, when they first get into Marvel, they don't know anything about it. They just want to mash buttons, right?
Yeah.
So that allowed people to get into the game and then not really have to think about the extra stuff because it was automatically done for them, right? They don't have to be like, oh, what's this? You know? It's there. If they mash buttons, the assist will come out and they'll be like, oh, that's cool. But they don't really know what's going on and they don't really care. But for people who really want to get more into the actual, darker depths of the game, there's a little bit more to know, right? So I thought that was kind of a cool way of going about it.
Causing serious balance issues.
It did, and the system, the way it worked, is that you had a randomly chosen assist, or once you knew the code, you could manually select it. Now they came with a bit of a trade-off by doing it this way, though. They decided to change it to limited use, and it was not the same for every assist. Every single assist had a different amount of uses.
Like, give me an example.
Okay, so like something that was used more frequently was Colossus and Psylocke, and they were limited to 5 uses. Something like Arthur, I think, was like 8, something like that, or Lou. So
like Capcom, like since all the assists were like completely different from each other, Capcom's like, okay, this might be a little too powerful, so the balancing was the limitations, how many times you can use it per match. At least they attempted to balance it that way.
Yeah. So they basically incorporated a system where they intended some assists to be very good, and they were, but they didn't want it to be like a mash fest where you're just constantly calling assists, so they limited the number of uses that you could call them, right?
Yeah.
So you know that you got 5 free attempts to get a free super off of Spider-Man or something.
And that's what we did in the arcade days, man. We didn't even do calls. We just call Colossus and just do a team super.
Yeah, something like that, maximum Spider. Go for the ride. But yeah, like again, like when that system was first introduced way back in '98, a lot of us didn't really understand the depths, of the mechanics that we could actually kind of think about later on, right? That we kind of figured out like as the game evolved over time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Marvel 2 kind of overshadowed it because the game only had about a 2-year lifespan. But people figured out like
That's a
stuff
good
like
point.
Lou, we basically thought he was useless early on. And he comes out and just, shoots a bunch of arrows really slow, and you're like,
Lou's
well,
the
what
guy
the hell is
with
that?
he shoots the little arrows and he's got the flame thing behind him.
That's Lou. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. No, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where.
Yeah. That's Lou. Yeah. So basically, we figured out, oh, what if we call Lou? He's slow, and then we teleport behind the opponent with Strider.
Yeah.
That creates a mix-up option. And then we figured out you can do the same thing with Wolverine's that Berserker Slash where he goes through the opponent. Same thing. Yeah, it's kind of dumb, but there was other things in that game that was actually kind of it was risky, but I liked that they kind of went in the the risky direction. A character, what was it? I think it was Devil Lot. It seemingly did nothing. It just kind of came out and just stayed on the screen, but what it did, it exploded after a certain amount of time, and the catch was that it was stationary, but it was unblockable. If the opponent was there, it would just blow them up.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, who's just gonna stay there and get hit by it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you got a character like Strider,
Again.
you pin them down with Ouroboros and a bunch of assists.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to eat that orbs.
Blown up, literally.
You're gonna get blown up, literally.
Yeah.
Literally, just trap them in the corner, call Devilot, and then they're forced to eat the orbs.
I wish we knew about that stuff back then, man. That would have been so funny to do.
Yeah, of course. So it opened a lot of possibilities that weren't possible in Marvel vs. Street Fighter, but of course, it came at a trade-off, right?
I think one of the coolest things, though, was that it allowed Capcom to put in really, really cool characters from the Capcom franchise without having to dedicate to making them an actual character. Like, it was just really cool cameos. They could put anyone they want,
They only had to do one animation, right?
Yeah, like, for example, with, Marvel's Capcom Infinite, they could literally just put the dude from Resident Evil 7, and he could just grab you and say, "Welcome to the family, son." You don't have to make him as a character. He could just be in the assist. You know what I mean? They could do stupid shit like that, and I don't know. I think that's one of the coolest things about the Marvel's Capcom 1 assist system.
I think that's a good. No, I think actually that brings up a good point, because I remember one of the interviews they were talking about Infinite. One of the main reasons they chose to do this is because they didn't want you to feel that you were forced to pick a character based on the assists.
Mm-hmm.
And Marvel's Capcom 1 was actually a really good example of where they tried to do that before a different way, right? So the assists were in the game, but it didn't limit you to having to pick a character based on that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, dude. That's a really good point. So, well, regardless, you're still in a situation where you have choice. And when you have choice, people always choose what's best. So, in competitive play, can you just give me a small, short, list of what are the best assists and why, off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, when I was playing it online and in the arcades, the best assists at the time were mostly Colossus and Psylocke, just because of their screen carry and defensive tool set. Basically, if someone jumps in on you and eats Colossus, they're gonna get super, infinite to death. As the game, like I said, as the game kind of evolved, we figured out other things that kind of made certain teams better. Like I said, the Strider, Wolverine, and Lou combo, and then the Strider trap with Devilot, stuff like that.
That's so cool.
It added a lot more to the game that we didn't really think about back then, but unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to kind of explore it, right?
Yeah, man, that is too bad. As we talk about the MVC1 assist system, I'm starting to really like it. It's really cool.
It had a lot of potential, right?
It really did, man.
Who knows? It's still not too late for them to rethink it in Infinite.
To watch this video and put it in.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they'll rethink it. From what I've heard, the game's only about 30% done, so who knows, right? But if they don't, I really hope they think about what we're losing as a result, and they kind of compensate for it with the gem system.
Oh man! Anything else you want to talk about MVC1?
No, man. Like I said, we got a lot to cover with these games, so I mean, we should probably move it along.
Well, just one more thing, actually.
Sure.
What were the limitations on calling the assist? Could you super jump and call the assist in MVC1?
Oh, it's actually a good thing to cover. No, it was the same layout as Marvel Street Fighter, so you were forced to stand and perform your taunt, and then the assist came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, same thing, and you were locked in place and you couldn't get out of it.
Alright, moving on to the king of fighting games. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Now this is where it got crazy because
that's one hell of a beast.
we got crazy. I'm just let me talk for a second on this one because more.
Go nuts, man.
Okay, so the ambition of this game is so out of control. I love to toot Marvel vs. Capcom 2's horn, man. 56 characters, and then the assist. You choose your assist type per character, and you have 3 choices per character, with 3 characters per team. Just absolutely insane. Insane. But to be fair, though, a lot of the assists suck in the game. A lot of the assists suck. Yeah, man. Where do we even start with the MVC2 system? So yeah, you choose your characters, and then every character you have 3 choices, and they kind of have like a pattern, right? There's like projectile type, launcher type where they launch your character. What other ones were there, David? There's like,
anti-air. That was like the quintessential to every team.
Anti-air, yeah. Anti-air was usually like the best one because of like defensively and damage-wise. And there were some really cool ones like was it Bonarine or Wolverine that had the low-hitting one?
That was Bonarine. I think it was the only low-hitting assist in the whole game.
What was it called? Do you remember the type it was called? Do you remember what the type was? Was it expansion?
I think it just.
Then some really weird.
Something like that. A variety, I think. I think it was his gamma. Yeah, I think it was his gamma assist that did it.
We had assists that would give you life back. I think it was Amingo that gave you life back. And
I believe so, yeah.
And who else? Oh, what's her name? Resident Evil.
Jill.
Yeah, she gave the health back.
Jill Valentine.
And then, thanks for the full name, David. And Ruby Heart, did she give power up? I'm sorry, guys, I remember this all off the top of my head. Someone gave defense up too. I think it was Amingo as well. But...
Yeah, there's Amingo. I think the power up assists were Amingo, Ruby Heart, Jill, and I think there was 1 or 2 other ones there. I can't think off the top of my head. But they basically buffed your point character if you were actually able to grab the power up.
Yeah, man, Marvel 2 assist system was insane. Anyways, yeah, keep going, Dave. So after you choose all your assists and the match starts, like, what were the limitations of using it?
Well, before we go too far into like the mechanics of it, we'll just talk about the transition from the other games.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, man.
One thing I didn't mention in the old games as to actually call your assist was performed with the medium punch and kick buttons. And it was the same in Marvel Street Fighter and Marvel Capcom. In Marvel 2, because they took the assist system and like they just expanded on it like tenfold.
Yeah.
They literally, like, the entire control scheme was revamped. Like no longer was the game 6 buttons. They turned it into a 4-button layout as far as the attack buttons were concerned. So rather than your low, medium, hards, you had your lows, and if you double tapped it, you had a I think you got a medium, right?
It was really awkward back then.
Yeah, it was hard for us to adjust to. But the reason they did that was because they actually they changed the game to a 3-on-3 format. And to accommodate that, obviously you're going to have 2 characters in the back burner now, and both those characters get their own assists. So what they did is they actually delegated a button to each character to perform that assist.
Genius.
Yeah, it was pretty ambitious for its time.
I remember we complained about so much when we realized the buttons went from 6 to 4. But then after we played it for a while, after we grew, like it grew on us, like we realized how how necessary it was, for that kind of game.
Yeah, I mean that game is just so different. It's like leaps and bounds better or more advanced than the other games in the series. Canceling specials in the supers, 5 meters as opposed to 3-meter limit. Stuff like snapbacks, but that's a different video altogether.
Yeah.
You could talk for hours about that game. Let's just say that it was a very ambitious system that they were trying out because they did a lot of changes. No longer were you limited to only being on the ground and having to taunt to call your assist anymore. You could literally freely move around. You could move, you could jump, you could even fly with like characters like Sentinel and attack while you were calling your assist, and at no point did it stop you or penalize you for doing it. Yeah, it was mind blowing. The transition, it was crazy. We were like, wow, I can move and attack now. This is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, the potentials for like combos and stuff were almost limitless in that game.
It really was, and it created a lot of other things too. So as I remember, you can call your assist when you're on the ground or when you're in a normal jump state or in a fly state, like you said, and you can't have 2 assists on the screen at once. But
No.
I think that was pretty much it, right? The chaos of it. And yeah, because you were able to freely use them, it created things besides just like using it for defense. And you get it for combo extenders now, and what else? And like trap teams and zoning, and it was just so many different combinations. You were choosing characters literally for their assist at that point. We had Captain Commando and Psylocke, who were like pretty awful characters as characters, but as assists they were like insane, so insane. I think like Captain Commando's assist does like 22 damage, and your life bar in that game was like 144. Like it's I don't know, man, a pillar of lightning that like hits the entire like vertical part of the screen. Or a black heart assist, and it's too much, man.
Yeah, it covers a lot of space.
Yeah, man. And we were talking before too, David. How like in Marvel's Capcom Infinite, they're talking about how, you know, they don't like the idea of people picking characters just for their assists, and they'll give you ways to continue combos, you know, using teamwork and stuff. But I think, but what you were mentioning before is one thing they can't replicate is that there are certain teams that, because of the Marvel's Capcom 2 assist system, or even the Marvel 3 assist system, where certain teams wouldn't be possible without this kind of assist system, like Strider Doom, for example.
Yeah, so basically, if you take out the assist mechanic, then certain things like traps can exist, you know, because you're not going to have 2 characters doing things simultaneously, right? You have to constantly like alternate between the 2. Now I'm not saying that you can't have a character like potentially throw out, you know, something like Doom missiles or like just like a Hadouken and then switch characters and then follow up on it. But to physically be able to trap the other character while the assist is pinning them down, that's not going to be possible anymore. And to be perfectly honest, I've always been more of like a rushdown player myself. I'm not much of a trapper, but having dealt with those players who use them, I really appreciate that playstyle. I like that there's so much variety in the game, and I think it adds a lot of replayability for a lot of people. You know, like you might play the game for years and only play Cables and Blackhearts and stuff like that and Sentinels, and then you'll run into someone who plays like Spiral Sentinel or Strider Doom, and you're like, wow, this is a completely different way of playing. Like, I've never seen this before. Like, I don't know how to deal with it. I like that. You know, like when Chris G brought in, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. When Chris G brought in the Morgan Doom fiasco that was in Marvel 3, that's not going to be possible in Marvel Infinite. And some people will be like, oh, overjoyed. That's great. But being a longtime fan of the series, I think it's kind of a staple. You know what I mean? Like, I would actually be kind of sad to see that kind of stuff go.
I agree with you, man. I really do. But yeah, like maybe there'll be unique things with Infinite that we couldn't do before as well. But with the assist system it just creates so much, especially from the Marvel 2 days, man. And
very hard to balance.
Yeah, of course.
Very difficult to balance.
Yeah,
something with so much potential is always hard to balance, right? From a gameplay standpoint.
Yeah, there was very few situations where like you picked a character and there was like 2 assist choices that were viable. Like, I think Storm was one good example. There was like projectile and the one where the wind goes straight up. Like, that had some uses. And even the one where she dashes across the screen was good for some matchups as well. I was talking to
all
Justin
3 of her assists were good.
Yeah, like Justin was telling me about this before on his team, but yeah, there's not very few. Like, I guess Sentinel, sometimes you want to choose projectile assist with Magneto, the rocket punch one, instead of the drones. but yeah, there wasn't too much. Like if you're picking Commando, like it's gonna be anti-air. You know what I mean? So
Every time.
yeah, every single time. Yeah, man. Marvel 2. Is there anything else you want to add about the Marvel 2 assist system?
Not too much, man. Just like basically the only limitations in Marvel 2 to calling the assist was the assist had to be not on cooldown. It means you couldn't have just called an assist. There's a little bit of a delay before you can call it again, and of course the character has to still be alive, right? Which is easier said than done in that game. Like, you get killed off pretty quick.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's about it, man. Let's move on to Marvel 3.
All right, Marvel 3, man. Go ahead. You were the Marvel 3 player, so.
Yeah, I don't know if I would pat myself on the back for that.
Dude, you got like top 32 at EVO, man. Women did.
Still, way back when.
Yeah.
That's too long ago. I was gonna say. Okay, let's just say that on paper, on Marvel 3, the engine changed, but the assist mechanics technically didn't. They're more or less the same as they were in Marvel 2, with some slight changes.
Okay.
But it was just because the engine was so different compared to the old ones. They streamlined the assist to accommodate that.
Okay.
I know that sounds maybe a little bit counterintuitive, but basically what I mean is because in the old games there was nothing like ground bounce. There's nothing like the OTG system was there, but it's different. Wall bounces, stuff like that. That stuff was all incorporated exclusively into Marvel 3's engine. So that was it's a completely, in my opinion, a completely different fighting game, but with versus series mechanics incorporated into it.
Didn't Tatsunoko versus Capcom have that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, we can consider that another versus game. It's not Marvel, so I'm kind of...
Okay, yeah, actually, that's kind of fair. That's kind of
Yeah,
fair.
I mean, like, we are trying to stick to just the Marvel games. I mean, if you want to dabble in that as well.
I mentioned it just so in case someone in the comments below is like, hey, why are you guys ignoring this? I'm just acknowledging that it exists, okay?
Right, of course.
No offense.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, I mean, the Tatsunoko thing, it was, I believe it was similar to Marvel vs. Street Fighter, where it was just your secondary character coming in and performing a fixed move. I mean, you played the game more than I did, so you know better than...
Tekman Blade, man. Yeah.
It's
the Ryu assist, just for the assist.
Right, there you go, right. So that's another example of being kind of feeling, like they were saying, they were feeling forced to pick a character based on what they brought to you, the rest of the team. You might not like the character, but it brings so much to the other two that you feel obligated to pick it, right?
Exactly,
so, I understand where they're coming from on that. I just feel like there might have been a better way to go about it, but that's my opinion.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
A lot of other people might disagree.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I've been seeing on comments and on forums and stuff like that, people seem to be mostly for it. Like most people, the reaction has been mostly positive. So a lot of people seem to not really care too much that the assists are going.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the Marvel 3 bit. Yeah, so like I said, the combo system changed in the game, so the assists basically they were readjusted to accommodate that. So stuff like the OTGs, if your character didn't natively have one, you would pick an assist that could make up for that weakness, right? Same if your character didn't have moves that would cause a wall bounce or a ground bounce, you would, to extend your combos, you would pick characters who would allow you to do that if your character couldn't do it by itself. So the only main difference defensively I think they incorporated into that game was a lot of the assists when they came on the screen, they were not invincible at all, and they stayed on the screen technically or generally longer than they did in the old games. So they were much more prone to being punished. So you see a lot of what people would call happy birthday.
Yeah.
A lot of situations where both characters would go for the ride,
Yeah, actually that's true. It was a lot more common in Marvel 3.
Yeah, in Marvel 2, I mean, some of those situations would arise. I mean, the whole snapback, infinite stuff. But I mean, you kind of had to be fishing for it. You had to either set it up or be looking for it, and you had to react quickly. In Marvel 3, it's commonplace. You see it every other match, and it just becomes kind of a killjoy, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's one of the things a lot of people don't talk too much about. It's mostly about the X Factor topic. Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah. X Factor that's a different beast entirely. But I will freely admit I am so glad that that's not coming back. That was not
for sure.
one of my favorite mechanics
Yeah.
to be added to the Versus series.
Oh man. So what are like the limitations of the assist on Marvel 3? Is it the same as Marvel 2? Like jump state, fly state?
Yeah, more or less pretty much the same. The only real limitation is you can't call them when you're in block stun, and you can't really call them in a super jump state or when your assist is on cooldown. So I would say for the most part it was the same. I mean, there might be a little like mechanical differences that we're not getting into in detail, but we're just talking about the underlying basic system, and for the most part it was intact from Marvel 2.
I think another difference is in Marvel 3 you can call each separate assist in one combo, but in Marvel 2 you can't.
Yeah, actually, that is a good point. You can use both assists in a combo, whereas I think the moment you call an assist at all in Marvel 2, that was basically you were restricted to that. Like you couldn't call. Say you called Psylocke, you couldn't call Storm afterwards. Whereas in Marvel 3, they added the ability to call like Wesker for an OTG, and then you can call Spencer's Armor Piercer for like a wall bounce afterwards.
And then we get like 3-minute combos that last forever.
Yeah, so I mean, with so much freedom, you get a little bit craziness, right? So I mean, it's a little bit hard to keep that balanced.
Yeah.
So I like to say, with great power comes great responsibility.
Oh god. Oh man, Neoxon would have loved that, man.
Yeah, but the game kind of just devolved into getting hit once and then you lose a character. That's best case scenario.
Best case scenario.
Yeah, so you only lose one character, then you're sitting pretty.
Oh, David, man. I think you played Marvel 3 for too long, man.
Alright, all you need to do is watch Cable Rivers matches now these days, and you see what I'm talking about.
It scarred you, bro. Oh, it's so funny. One thing I really liked about the assists in like Marvel 2 and even in Marvel 3 is like the assists that are not actual attacks, the assists that power up your character. In Marvel 2 we had like defense up, power up, life up, and all that. But in Marvel 3 we just had, I think, like a meter up, like Morgan assist gave you meter, and Chris G used that, and I thought that was really cool, like an assist that you just use, but it's not for combos. I thought that was really cool, and I wish they did more of that kind of stuff, honestly.
Yeah, and when you think of like assist, that's the kind of thing that would make sense, right? Actually come in and make a difference in the match, buff your character, like give you an advantage, recover some health, give you a little bit of meter, like that makes sense. You're especially in Marvel 3 where there's a big risk to calling your assist in the first place. You should get rewarded for that.
Like I know another thing too, David, is like one thing that people don't give enough credit for in Marvel 3 is you can actually power up the assists. So like, for example, Arthur, you can power him up and switch him out, and then as an assist, he's the powered up Arthur, And like Shenko was like the armor form, and Phoenix Wright, for example. There's a bunch of characters like that. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's the Phoenix Wright. I think turnabout mode assist when the game first came out, before they nerfed it, was like really, really OP.
It was insane.
Like couldn't stop it. Just come in, get smacked, and lose a character.
Oh, dude, T-bone assist, man! I use that shit on you all the time. The old school T-bone assist. I miss it.
Yeah. She was like one of the, besides Hager, she was one of the only examples in that game that actually had some invincibility on startup.
Yeah, that's another thing. They didn't like the invincibility on startup. Like, they really wanted to take out that anti-air kind of assist in Marvel 3. So, like, T-Bone was like a godsend. And Hager assist, well, he still is, right?
Yeah, but I think that, in Marvel 2, I think you weren't delegated to picking such crappy characters specifically for their assist. I'm not saying Hager's terrible in Marvel 3. Obviously, Cable Rivers has proven that he's not. Mm-hmm. But I feel like they limited it only to a couple characters. So if you want that specialty, like you want your character to specialize in a defensive assist like that, you really have to sacrifice a character to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas in Marvel 2, like you had lots of characters that were viable on their own. Like Ken and Cammy, they had good assists and they were good characters in their own right? Even Cable's got a pretty decent anti-air. So yeah, it seemed like they were really trying to shy away from the defensive turtling.
Yeah. Oh, another thing too. Do you remember when you get hit by an assist? If you block, you can't push block them or something. Was it in Marvel 3? If you're getting hit by an assist and you're blocking it, and you can't push block them back.
It's been a while since I played, but I think you're right.
I just
think
remember
you
that
can
being
push
really
block the
annoying
point, but you
because
can't push block the assist.
Yeah, Wolverine would be on you, like, and you can't like push him back because the assist stops you. I remember that in Marvel 3. I don't know. I remember those. I just remember the reasons why I didn't play that game. So I guess that's why I remember.
Well, stuff like Fuzzy Guard being taken out. That's like I said, another video.
Yeah, that's funny. Anything else you want to talk about Marvel 3's assist system?
Not really. Honestly, like we've covered pretty much every game. I wouldn't say like super in depth, but we've covered the basics of all of them. Marvel 3 brought its nuances to the table. I mean, it had its ups and downs, but despite the flaws I found with Marvel 3's engine and the changes they made to the assist system, I still personally don't want to see it taken out. I feel like the game would lose a lot of I guess creativity, because that's another thing you have to appreciate about these games. Like when we were kids playing stuff like Marvel 2, and even for me when I was playing Marvel Street Fighter and stuff like that, it was actually kind of fun to, when you weren't even playing the game, you'd just be like brainstorming in your head, like a combo, like, oh, I wonder if that would work, you know what I mean? Like you'd be like in class thinking about like how, I wonder if that would work, you're like thinking of like a way of like trapping a character or continuing a combo, or like and it just I don't know, it was like almost like, I don't want to get too crazy on my wording here, but it was almost like a lifestyle, like when you were playing those games, it was you ate, drank, and slept it, right? You weren't in the arcades, you were thinking about it, and that was something I think is kind of lost in these games more so. I mean, Marvel 3 had it to an extent, but I mean, if they're taking it out in Infinite, I think that kind of charm is going to be lost a bit.
For sure. The funny part is when you're talking about the brainstorming thing, the funny part is when after school and you head to the arcade, 90% of the time it works. It actually works every time, man.
Yeah, you're like, I really wish I could land that super. But like, oh well, and you'd be thinking about another character who might have an assist that could help you land it, and then you try it and it works, and it was exciting. It kept the game fresh and fun, and for many years. I mean, Marvel 2 lasted better part of a decade, right? So.
For sure. And in Marvel 2, it was really hard to combo into a lot of supers as well, like Spider-Man, for example. I remember you use like hard punch to spike them down into an assist so you can combo into the, maximum spider. And
yeah, BB Hood. Yeah.
Yeah, the BB Hood assist, rocket.
The rocket assist. Yeah, that was kind of retarded. But
good times, man. Good times.
Yeah, like stuff like they nerfed Wolverine to the floor in that game, and then his crouching hard punch like had 0 hit stun. It was like worse than a jab, and so the only way to combo any of his supers pretty much was to use an assist like Thanos' bubble or Gambit's like kinetic card assist, right? And see, like that, and that's what I mean. Like the creativity, they would put limitations on the characters so they weren't overpowered, but then you could overcome that limitation by using an assist. And I think that was like that was a creativity aspect of the games that I think will be lost if they take the assist out. That's just my personal opinion.
I think they're not going after the creativity. I think they're trying to stop like it from being overwhelming, and to help players like with all the assists and stuff going on the screen. Like from a spectator's point of view and from a player's point of view, when both of you are calling assists constantly, and like in the tug of war, I think that's what they're kind of don't like to get new players into. But they're trying to maintain that creativity with the new assist system. But yeah, it's kind of hard to do it,
It's more honest, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna have someone who's never played these games before run into like a Morgan Doom or a Hager assist, right? It's not gonna happen because it's not gonna be in the game. So I mean, I'm like we've already kind of covered this in you know just conversation. A veteran player and a new player. I mean, doesn't matter how much they level the playing field for them. You know, the veteran player is always going to come up ahead generally.
Yeah.
You know, it's because like you said, you're giving the good player the same tools that you're giving the new player, and they're always going to utilize it better.
They can still air dash. They still can do long extended combos. They're still gonna abuse whatever systems they have in place. The new Infinity Stone system and the new Tegan system. They're still gonna be able to abuse that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the payoff is. It's still a long time before the game is complete.
Right, of course.
Anything else you want to mention, David, before we close this up?
No, man. I pretty much said my piece. I mean, I really feel like they could have done certain things a different way. Like, I know, like they're trying to cater to the casual audience more now.
Mm-hmm.
But like in the old games, they had easy mode and they had the stuff in like Marvel 1, where the assists were randomized and automatically picked. So I mean, something like that might have worked better than the route that they're taking, but who knows, right? Like it's still too early to tell. You know, we'll have a little bit more to go by as they release more footage and a little bit more information as we go, right? So I wish them the best. I hope it turns out okay. I got my fingers crossed, but I'm gonna reserve judgment until I actually get my hands on the game.
For sure, for sure. All right, guys, thanks for taking the time to watch this. Let us know what do you guys feel about the old assist mechanics. Which one was your favorite? And do you guys still like assists, or you're happy with this new direction they're going? And thanks a lot, Dave, for hanging out with me and giving us a good history lesson on the past games. It was fun. Good talk.
That's good times, man.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Later.